Well, first, I would like to go back a little bit to the question of Johan, because I think I can answer his question about what mathematical problems will be solved, and how the difficulty increases. It's actually a pretty simple concept, because the mathematical problem that is being solved is a SHA-256 hash problem, and well, I won't go in any specifics of what the inputs are, but the SHA hashing problem gives or takes any input, that can be a word or it can be a sequence of numbers, and it returns a sequence of numbers of a specific length. So if you put in 10 numbers, you'll get 100 in return, but if you put in 200 numbers, then you'll get 100 in return as well. And the blockchain, or at least the Bitcoin algorithm, looks for a specific amount of zeros at the end. So if the difficulty is 5 zeros at the end, the computer starts calculating this maximum or this hash, and looks for a solution that has 5 zeros at the end. And if you want to increase the difficulty, you decrease the amount of zeros that you look for in the end, or you increase the amount of zeros that you look for in the end, because that will make a harder to find number. So that is what kind of calculation is being done to find the right solution to a block, and also explains how they can increase the difficulty or decrease the difficulty if they want to make it easier for computers to find the blocks. But well, that was the answer to that question, and I will now continue with my presentation about making in-game items real with blockchain. First, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Menno Bruijn, and I'm a test consultant at Capgemini. I've been involved with blockchain since, well, it says 2017 here, but it's actually 2014, because that's when I bought Bitcoin for the first time. But I actually sold it again to get a motorcycle. So I entered back in at around 2017, and then really started learning about blockchain. There's also a QR code over here. It's for a survey I made on Google Docs. It's about the price of in-game items. I think there will also be a link in the presentation, which you can click to go to the to this survey. Don't fill it in yet, because I will explain what it's all about a little later on. First, a bit more about myself. I've been a gamer for a long time now. I've played some of these games. You see in the top left, you see Counter-Strike Source. I've played that a lot. I've also played the game on the top right, which was called Road Rash, where you had to drive a motorcycle as fast as possible, but you could also kick the opponents off their motorcycle, or use different weapons like the chain this guy is using over here. And then I also played Age of Empires in the bottom right, which was a strategy game I used to play on a local area network with my father and my brother, and actually the neighbor kid was also involved. It was a lot of fun. Then afterwards, I started playing more role-playing games like World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 2, and that's actually where I really started seeing more the beauty of collecting special items. And the survey behind the QR code and the link, if you go there, will be about these in-game items, and my presentation as well. So the question is, what is the price of these items? I'll go through them, and then you can make your estimation. The top left one is the blue party hat. It's actually an item in RuneScape, and it was actually a limited edition item that was released for free to all the players right at the start of RuneScape. I think it was in 2004, or it's a really old item, and It was released to the public during a Christmas event, and well, you should guess the price of the item. Then below that, you see the nest egg. It's actually an item in Astoria. It's a game a bit like Second Life, but this item, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't provide any benefits for the owner. The only thing is that if a certain time passed in the game, I think it was a few months, then after that there was a special event that happened in the game. So I guess owning this item gave you the right to say that you were the person that caused that event in the game. But then again, my question for you is, what is the price of this item? Then the third one, the top right one, is a skin for a gun in Counter-Strike. It's actually not Counter-Strike Source, which I used to play, but a follow-up version. It's Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And this AWP skin, it's actually one of the most powerful guns in the game. And the skin was given out during one of the competitions that was being held for this game. And well, again, try to guess the worth, the amount of money this item was traded for. Then the last one, the bottom right one, it's actually a whole planet in the same game as the nest egg, Entropia, that was being sold. Well, I'll help you a little bit. It was not bought by a single player, but it was actually bought by a company. And I guess that company wanted to be the owner of a whole planet in this game, Entropia. So take your guess of what you think this item is worth. I'll get back to the answers a bit later on, because there's a small delay of 20 seconds between what's happening for me now and when you see this presentation. So I'll get back to the answers when all the answers are gathered. For now, I'll continue. Well, why are in-game items, or why is gaming growing so fast? Well, there's a lot of free-to-play games that are available for people, and things like a mobile phone or the popularity of, for example, the PlayStation 5 is a great platform for game designers to make games more popular. And there's a lot of free-to-play games that are being created nowadays. I'll get back to some of these free-to-play games in a bit, but due to the popularity of these free-to-play games, the only way for the makers of these free-to-play games to make money is to create in-game items and sell them for real money. And well, that is why the in-game item market has also grown a lot. Well, I already talked about the PlayStation 5, and well, I don't know if any of you heard about it, but the popularity of the PlayStation 5 was immense. I think in the Netherlands there were like 200,000 orders, and Coolblue only had about 200 to 300, or even less than 200 to distribute among these orders after the PlayStation 5 released. And I think they still haven't caught up with the orders, even though it's been a few weeks now since the PlayStation 5 released. So the gaming is really popular right now. Then a few of these games, the free-to-play games I mentioned earlier. One of the biggest right now is Call of Duty Warzone. And one of the in-game items I would like to highlight here is you see this guy holding a golden weapon, and that's one of the skins for a weapon you can unlock when you reach a certain stage, or when you get to a certain level with your weapon. Then here's Fortnite. I think that was one of the most popular games last year or a while back. One of the techniques these game makers use to get people more in-game items is battle passes. Right here you see the battle pass system for Fortnite, and using battle passes you can link leveling up to getting more items. And if people don't have a battle pass, they won't get the items when they level up. So you have an incentive to buy the battle pass and get more in-game items. Then following up with that, you see Apex Legends over here on the top right. This player over here has a special skin for his character. You see she has a certain look, a certain outfit, and usually these outfits are also being made to purchase to make your character look more special and well, make it unique. And lastly, here's the Elder Scrolls Online, and another way to motivate people to buy in-game items is what they did in Elder Scrolls Online was using loot boxes. And using loot boxes, you buy a box and you don't know what's in it, but you hope there's good items in there. And well, when you don't get good items, you want to buy another. But when you do get good items, it's a lot more random with loot boxes, and there's also been some problems with that, and maybe we'll touch on it later. But going back to the questionnaire, I hope you've all had the possibility to fill in the questionnaire. I'll go to my phone for a bit to check the answers. Well, there's some nice responses. Well, for the blue party hat, the most popular response was 250 euros, but well, the item was worth a lot more, a tenfold of that. The last time a blue party hat was traded, it was traded for $2,500 to another person. So, well, I guess this sets the trend for the other items. Going on to the nest egg. Well, the answers are actually equally spaced, but the most popular answer was $10,000. Well, I already showed it for a short moment, but it's actually 7 times that. It's not 10,000. It was 70,000 for an item that actually doesn't do anything for you, but you can only say, I released an event on this game. Well, then the op skin for the for Counter-Strike. I see a lot of people overpricing this one. A lot of people actually guessed $147,000. It's actually a little cheaper. I think well, it's $63,000. And then for the last one, well, people went actually crazy for this one. Most of them answered 14 million, but it was a little less, but it's still very excessive. It was 5 million for the planet Calypso. So well, you get the point that these things can get really crazy. So it brings me to my next question. How do you put in-game items on a blockchain? Well, Darren already spoke about it. There's a possibility to use smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain, and for the most part, I will stick to these smart contracts. Well, we already heard smart contracts are small pieces of code that are on the blockchain that can be triggered when certain conditions are met. And one of the things we need to put in-game tokens or items on a blockchain is tokenization. So that is a way to for a third party like a company to put items that or things they have digitized. They could be tickets, they could be records, or they could be in-game knives or swords in a certain game and put them on a blockchain. And you could use a smart contract to do that. And I'll show you how you could do that on using a smart contract. Then you need non-fungible tokens. For a while, we talked about the use case of money for on a blockchain. But if you have €1 or $1 and you have it, then you have 2 times 50 cents, and it is still money. Those are fungible tokens, but non-fungible tokens are not divisible. And so if you have like one sword, you can't divide it into 2 swords because that just doesn't work. Non-fungible tokens are the same way. They are a different type of token that can't be divided. And then lastly, we need token standards. A token standard is actually a way to make sure everyone interprets a token in the same way. So if one person thinks of a way to create a token, it can be used on certain different platforms, and a token standard makes sure that it is interpreted. Well, for learning how to create tokens on a blockchain, I used Cryptozombies. The website for that is www.cryptozombies.io. It's actually a coding course which learns you how to create a set of smart contracts that actually tokenizes these zombies you see on the right. And for my example, I actually adapted some of the code to recreate a sort of Hearthstone-like game on a blockchain. And it uses, instead of the zombies, it creates certain cards or trading cards, and it allows you to create decks of cards. It's similar to the way Cryptozombies does it, but adds some other things to it. Well, to tokenize something, you actually need these 3 parts. First, a way to produce the token, then ownership, and lastly, of course, the token standard to make sure that other platforms can also interpret your token the way you want it to. So going further, a piece of code I wrote based on the course I followed at cryptozombies.io. This is actually a smart contract, and a few things I want to highlight is the DNA digits and the DNA modulus. By tokenizing an item uses a hash for creating a unique set of numbers, which in turn can be converted into a token. And how that is done is this smart contract maps all the addresses that created tokens in this smart contract. So for instance, if I want to create a token in this smart contract, I will have to use one of the functions in this smart contract. And once I use this function, my address is added to this list. It's actually a simple table which maps my address to the token that I created using one of these functions. And one of these functions is, for example, this create a card function. And what it does is it adds my address to this smart contract, and then adds a card or a unique sequence of numbers to my address to show that I now own that sequence of numbers. If you look over here, this sequence of numbers, this hash, is being generated using some randomness. The way I did it over here is actually not possible anymore because I used the time to create not randomness, and time can be influenced by computers. So you have to do it in a different way right now. But when you get this random set of numbers and you map it to a person, so that person is now the owner of a random set of numbers, you then have to interpret that set of numbers. And Cryptozombies actually does it in a certain in a very funny way. It takes the random hash. It takes the last 10 digits of that hash. It's, for example, it's this set of numbers, and then it applies certain interpretation characteristics. For example, the whole number determines the rarity. You can say that if a number like this starts with a 9 or with a 99, it is a lot rarer, and it shows certain characteristics, and if not, it doesn't. You can also use a certain set of numbers of this random hash to determine the color or the power. For example, in these cards, these both have the level of 7, and you can use this to interpret this random set of numbers that you mapped to an address. Going further, I also talked about the ownership of the cards. I already talked about mapping the set of numbers to an address, but you should also limit the actions that people can do with these cards that are now tokenized, and with this modifier you can limit the actions that someone can do with these tokens, that only the owner of a token can do certain actions. And also there's you see in the bottom of this function, you see an emit. That's actually when events happen on a blockchain, you want to get a certain notification of that to know what happened. And to look at that more closely, here's the token standard. It's actually ERC-721, which is a very common token standard in Ethereum. And there's also some events that happen that are being emitted once a token is used in a certain way. You can catch these events, and based on these events, you can interpret these in a program or in a game. Well, this is a lot of code, but what does this look like with the front end? So actually, I asked a student of the Hogeschool Utrecht earlier this year to create a proof of concept for a game that uses non-fungible tokens for items, and what was possible for that. So it looked the prototype he made looked a bit different, but I'll use this example. You log into a game using your wallet ID. You link your game to a wallet, and then you're playing the game. And for example, you kill some enemy and you find an item. And once you pick up that item, you instantly get that item in your wallet. To the left, you see the wallet, and you see the second item is the criminal's katana, and to the right you see this criminal's katana. This item, the criminal's katana, is generated based on the way the game interprets the random hash that is generated when this token is generated. On the bottom of the criminal's katana, I don't know if you can see it, you see a total supply. The total supply for this item is 23,857. Well, if this is a very popular game with 100,000 or 1 million players, this item could be pretty rare. there's only 24,000 items for the whole player base, which means not everyone can get this item. Then the program the student used to create the proof of concept was actually the engine platform, which makes it very easy to generate in-game items and to generate currency. So this is a look at the back end of the system. There's some in-game currency, some items that are fungible, but then there's also some non-fungible tokens on the second row. And to generate or to create these items on the back end, a developer can easily select whether they can be fungible or non-fungible, or the maximum supply is limited or unlimited, or if the items can be destroyed or can't be destroyed. That way they can control rarity or not. Well, the engine platform also made it very easy to trade items, in-game items that are being used in a game. So, for instance, this is the marketplace for the for items using the engine tokens, and you see the value of the items, and you see whether or not they are fungible tokens or non-fungible tokens. Well, why would a gaming company use a blockchain? Well, there's certain factors that are very very useful to, or there are certain situations where it's very useful to use a blockchain. For instance, when there's trust involved, or when you need to trust another person online that you don't know, which you have never met. And these situations, they happen a lot in games where you have a certain very rare item and you want to trade it with another person. You have to trust that they are honest and they don't scam you, or they don't go off with your item while not paying you, especially when you want to trade it for real money or for Bitcoin, for example. So the student I used to, or the student that created the proof of concept, actually dove into marketplaces that are currently available for in-game items. And some of these in-game items you already saw in the start of this presentation can be of ridiculous value. And in these marketplaces, the amount of hassle or the complications that you have to go through to trade an item from person to person are actually really really strange. Sometimes you have to take a video of your screen, or you have to validate your identity first, and then you have to trade it to a third party, and there's a lot of hassle trading. So trust is a big issue in games, especially when you don't know the other person you're trading with. Well, we already touched upon it. If there's more money involved, then there's more risk. So you need a secure way to trade items from person to person. Then there's the question of leftovers. There's a lot of games that ask you to deposit money to get in-game tokens. For example, the Call of Duty Warzone example I used earlier. You have to pay real money to get in-game tokens, the COD points, and well, the first item or the first thing you can buy is 1,000 COD points. But if you have 900 COD points left in your account, you can never use them. You have to add the COD points, which you can't do in increments of 100. You can only do it in increments of 1,000. So you will always have a leftover stack of things in an account where you actually paid for. And using in-game currency or blockchain, you can actually get rid of these leftovers or use them in other games to pay for things you want to buy in those games. And then there's the question of interoperability. There's there's a lot of games that are very popular and that are sequenced. I think there's now like 12 different type of Call of Duty games. But the things you've earned in the first game of Call of Duty are not applicable anymore in later games of Call of Duty, and that is when you look at Call of Duty, which actually is made by the same company. If you see people that have been gaming for 20 or 30 years, those people have earned so many things in these games that that can't be used in other games. So there's a limitation of interoperability within games now, and using blockchain, these limits can be conquered. Well, some future possibilities for in-game items. There's of course the possibility of creating provable unique items. People can actually go to a blockchain like Ethereum, find the smart contract, and see the exact circumstances or the exact logic in which a token is created. And you can also validate if a token is unique, if a hash is unique. Then there's the possibility of cross-game interpretation of items in currency. This is something I thought of when looking into this. It will actually be possible to earn an item in one game and then use it in another game. One of the requirements for that is actually that gaming companies, developers work together or actually use the same token standard. So we are still a long way away from that, but it's a fun possibility that's out there. Well, we already touched upon this one too. Items are more easily tradable when they're on a blockchain, or when it's blockchain items and they can be interpreted by a trading platform using token standards, and therefore making it far easier to trade items than going through all the hoops that you have to do now. And lastly, using a wallet which only you have access to makes you a genuine owner of items. The case is often that your account is still owned by a company or a gaming company, and if they think that you are cheating or they don't support the game anymore and go offline, they can shut down the game or shut down your account, and then you no longer have access to the items you have bought with your own money. Using blockchain, this can be solved. Items are no longer limited to being used only inside a game, but can also be taken out of the game, and which also makes it easier to be a true owner of your in-game items. Well, that was it that I wanted to say about using in-game items on a blockchain, and I'm actually looking forward to the possibility that this brings for the future and different applications in games. So, any questions?
Okay, thank you for your presentation, Menno. Looking into the comments to see if there are any questions right now. Not at this moment, so I might have a question for you, Menno. You talked to us about coin leftovers, and you mentioned a lot of benefits for the players themselves. So my question actually is, what is the incentive for game developers? Like, I mean, if you have these coin leftovers, I mean, that's profit for the developers, right? So what's in it for them?
Well, there's actually a few benefits for the developers. I think the biggest one is marketing. If blockchain gets more and more popular, or blockchain is already pretty popular among gamers, because gamers spend their whole life on the internet, and they have already read about Bitcoin or blockchain. Gamers can, or game developers can actually catch the interest of these gamers by offering them opportunities or possibilities to get in-game items. And at first, it will be it won't be of great benefit to the players or the developers, but it will be just a marketing effect. But as this development grows and more applications start to use this, then this will be this could become a necessity to have items that you can take out of the game. And then secondly, there's also the creative freedom or the possibilities for items being used in one game as well as in another, or creating virtual trophy rooms for things you have earned in certain games. These creative ideas can give certain developers an edge to develop more interesting and more innovative games.
Okay, I imagine it can become a very big market, new market. Do you know if there's any numbers out there about the market right now, or?
Well, I think right now the gaming branch is or gaming market is totaled about 150 billion. So that's billion with a B. But I think only 50 billion of this is licensing. So getting access to games, buying physical copies. But 100 billion of this market is actually in-game items, is these silly hammers you use in Candy Crush to smash your way to victory, or any other in-game item. So already the in-game item has outgrown the licensing market.
Okay, interesting.